Attorney General of Arizona, Kris Mayes, is fighting mad, and she's fighting back. And she's going back to a grand jury in Arizona to pick up a state indictment against the fake electors of Donald Trump. She's not going to take no for an answer just because the Arizona Supreme Court said you got to go back and re-indict, and you got to instruct the grand jury about some of the defenses the fake electors might have had. She said, all right, that's the blueprint. I'm going back into the grand jury with my prosecution team, and I'm obtaining another indictment. She's the last pin standing. All the other fake elector cases have fallen by the wayside, federal and state, except for Arizona. And we got to give a lot of credit to Kris Mayes. We've had her on. We've interviewed her. I've had the honor of interviewing her about these issues. I'm Michael Popak. You're on the MeidasTouch Network and Legal AF. The top line story that the media has been reporting is Arizona Supreme Court fails to revive indictment of fake electors. But within an hour, Kris Mayes' office made their public announcement. Kris Mayes made her public announcement. I'm going back to re-indict. A grand jury of Arizonans indicted the first time. And if they want me to give, this is my paraphrase, if they want me to give them the instructions about the defense that the other party may have, which prosecutors don't normally have to do, they have to give the elements of the crime. They have to instruct properly on the elements of the crime, but not on the defenses. Oh, if you want me to go in and tell them about the defenses, I'll do that too. Tie one hand behind her back. She'll still walk out with the indictment. I'm glad you're here. Take a minute, come over to Legal AF YouTube channel. You may note I'm in a new room. I'm on the road. I'm at the Netroots Nation Conference in Philadelphia. I'm watering my tree of liberty while I'm here. I appreciate all of you. Let's get to the story about Kris Mayes. Now, Kris Mayes is one of 24 Democratic attorneys general. I regularly meet with them in order to get their side of the story of the cases that they are bringing against the Trump administration. In fact, I had the pleasure of interviewing Kris Mayes just about a month ago about this particular indictment before the Arizona Supreme Court ruling came in. See, it had been blocked along the way by lower appellate courts. And their fundamental problem is that when the prosecution team went into the grand jury room, they didn't give the defense's side. You don't have to give the defense's side in a prosecution. I mean, the defendants aren't in the room. Their evidence isn't in the room. Their witnesses aren't in the room. But the Arizona Supreme Court, having considered it, said, well, there is this statute, the 1887 Federal Electoral Count Act. You should tell them about that. I don't think that changes the math at all about the 18 fake electors, including Rudy Giuliani, Boris Epstyn, 2 lawyers for Donald Trump, including Kelly Ward, the former Republican Arizona chairperson, and the 11 fake electors. We have a photo of, if you ever wanted to see people signing a receipt for their own criminal indictment, here's the photo. Now, I asked Kris, I happen to have Kris Mayes. We were talking about voter integrity and what states and state attorneys general, at least the 24 Democratic ones, are prepared to do to protect democracy. You know, I felt better after listening to them that they're regularly meeting, speaking on almost a daily basis. These different state attorneys general's offices, they're having conference calls and meetings and their own electronic communication platform about tabletop exercises about doomsday scenarios involving Donald Trump and the vote at the midterm and beyond. That made me feel better, and the audience. Here's a clip of me with Kris Mayes recently. This is the attorney general who's going back with her team to get these indictments again. Play the clip.
On the minds of our audience, especially coming off of a big election night in America a couple of weeks ago, is the elections at midterm. And your office very publicly prosecuted 18 people related to the last election, presidential election, 11 electors, fake electors, we refer to them in shorthand, and 7 people in the inner circle for Donald Trump, including many of his lawyers. Many of those people have now received a federal pardon, although that doesn't help them with your case. I don't want to focus so much on what's happening with your particular case, but what does it mean for the future? What is your Attorney General office going to do to ensure people that their vote is going to count, that we're not going to have another certification problem, or God forbid, Donald Trump makes good on his attempts or his people around him to try to get on the ballot for a third term? What are you prepared to do?
Look, I protect our elections, and we are prepared to enforce the law. And that is what we did when we took the fake electors case to the grand jury, which was, we decided that it was important to present this case, let a grand jury decide. They decided to charge 18 individuals with an attempt in 2020 to essentially overthrow an election. And so what are we prepared to do? We will continue to uphold election law and to make sure that no one tries to overthrow an election.
That's your message to the next fake elector?
I don't think it changes it whatsoever. I've represented defendants who have been indicted by grand juries. I would love to be inside the grand jury room making my arguments on the defense to try to avoid the indictment. That's not how our adversarial process works. That's not how the principles of fair prosecution work at all. But if that's what the Arizona Supreme Court wants to do, she is more than up to the challenge. Here's a statement that Kris Mayes made in the last 12 hours about this case. She said, and I quote, "An independent grand jury of ordinary Arizonans found that there was sufficient cause to charge the defendants with the alleged crimes. These defendants were charged based on two things, the facts and the law. We remain squarely focused on ensuring the defendants are held accountable because there is nothing more important than enforcing the rule of law." In other words, I'm going back in and getting that indictment, or at least her team is. And so I have tried, just to be square with our audience, as I always am, I have tried to get Kelly Mays, Attorney General Mays, to join us and join me for an exclusive briefing on this. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. I understand it. It's a very delicate moment in time where she doesn't want to politicize it. She wants to just go in and, have her team be a prosecutor and not pollute the grand jury, not talk in advance and have any allegations that she's got her big fat thumb on the scale of justice. The adversaries would do that. But, and yes, we need to have sharper elbows and elbows up, but I'm not sure we want to mire ourselves in the mud of what the Republicans in MAGA would do in a similar circumstance. I'm hoping after she gets the indictment, she'll accept my invitation and come back on the show and meet with me and brief our audience. But she's one of the heroes. If they were making action figures, like superhero action figures, they should make one of Kris Mayes if they haven't already. And for those that think she's political, she's really not. She's a moderate. She was a Republican once in her life, but she is a true patriot and defender of our democracy and the rule of law. And if you want to sleep better at night about your vote and about who's out there on the front line as a first responder defending your vote, it's people exactly like Attorney General Kris Mayes. I don't even want to use the metaphor that, with the Arizona Supreme Court ruling, her office hit the canvas and now they're getting up, because I don't think they were ever dropped to the floor. She was prepared to go back if necessary. I mean, she could have anywhere along the way just said, you know what, they want me to re-indict, I'll re-indict. But she worked her way through the appellate process appropriately. And only at the last stop, the Arizona Supreme Court, did she say, okay, I'll go back in. Now she's got clear guidance of exactly what she needs to do with her prosecution team. Do the exact same indictment, same evidence, same witnesses, same testimony, except now have a section in there about the 1887 Electoral Count Act as a little bit of a teachable moment. Okay. In my experience, this is not going to change the results, not in the slightest. I think she gets her indictment and she'll be the only, this will go down in the history books, the only attorney general to continue to prosecute the fake electors. Everything else, the criminal cases, state and federal, Georgia, Jack Smith, Minnesota, Wisconsin, dead. This is the only one left. Now, for those in our audience that are wondering, well, what does it matter? Trump will pardon these people. This is a state case about state crimes of perjury and false document. So pardon is not effective. Could Trump put pressure on the Arizona, governor to try to get pardons of those? He could put political pressure. He could try. He was successful in Colorado. even against the Democrat governor, to get the Democratic governor to commute the sentence of Tina Peters, the Mesa County election clerk, who let MAGA in and tinker with our voting data. He did it. He's an outgoing governor. I know people that are attorneys general, like Phil Weiser, is running for office there. Maybe that wouldn't happen if Phil was the governor, but that happened. So could there be some sort of pressure placed on even a Democrat governor? Could be, but I don't think that's going to happen here. And even if it did, it shouldn't stop the prosecutor from doing her job, and it's not going to. But I'd be remiss if we didn't also talk about, sort of the pardon process related to it. I mean, the current governor of Arizona, as you know, used to be the Secretary of State. Her name is Katie Hobbs. She's a Democrat. And let me make people feel better. There is no way in hell that Governor Hobbs, is going to commute the sentence or pardon the fake electors, especially from her vantage point where she was the Secretary of State concerning the certification of the election. She knows factually what happened. And she ran successfully against Carrie Lake, the MAGA, who lost the governorship, running on a platform of election integrity, and ethics, and rooting out corruption in government. And she beat badly Carrie Lake. So there's no chance there, folks. Until my next report, come over to Legal AF YouTube channel, hit the free subscribe button, join me for live reporting on Legal AF Substack as well, and become a member or subscriber there. Until my next report, I'm Michael Popak.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.